Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, and we're going to be talking about Agnipath scheme. And there's a new book that the good General Naravne has written, where he had hinted that Agnipath was perhaps introduced in a hurry, indicating that maybe there are some tweaks that are to be required. A few months ago, you would have heard General Ravi Shankar come on P Guru's. We talked about this. If I remember correctly, it was a multi-part episode. A lot of details were shared, and we are going to be continuing from where we left off. And I request you humbly to please like this video, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, as well as Gunner Shot. This is coming simultaneously on P Gurus as well as on Gunner Shot. Wherever you are watching, if you have not subscribed to that channel, consider subscribing. Here comes General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, and thanks a lot, Shriyayarji, for calling me once again for this joint broadcast between P Gurus and Gunner Shot. We are yeah, we are
No,
looking
please
at
go ahead,
a
sir.
very,
Yeah.
no, we are looking at a very interesting subject, which is probably dear to my heart also. So
Very,
this,
very true, sir. We had a multi-part episode last time around, and we're going to pick up from where we left off. If I remember correct, one of the most important things you had said was 4 years of training is not enough. That they should, and retention. Those are the two things that you had suggested tweak. So clearly, somebody is listening to us. Somebody is listening that okay, maybe there is some retweaking required. So I'm going to leave the floor to you, sir, and please share us your thoughts. There's taken it's 2-3 years now, so we have had some idea, some time how it is actually getting executed on the ground. I wanted to actually show a book of mine, but I didn't have time to put it up, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll talk about it also, sir. I yield the floor to you. Over to you, sir.
thanks a lot. First and foremost, I must put it on record that you know the Agnipath scheme, in the broader sense, is something which India needs. There's no doubt that fundamentally there is a lot of value in the scheme because it aims to reduce the age of the army as a whole, uh, and this gives you the thing that it'll reduce your pension bills, all that. I'm okay with it. What I was not okay with, and this is something which I've written many times, is the fact that this 25% retention and 75% exit was flawed. It remains flawed even now, right? Oh, the fact that you train a soldier, you train him for 3 years, 4 years, and then don't retain him for a longer period is something which is doesn't gel, because it takes time to train a soldier. What has the Russia-Ukraine war taught us? What has the Israel-Hamas war taught us? Both conscripts failed. 1 year, 2 years, conscripts failed. What's the problem with the Chinese army? Same thing. There, so it's even worse. And we say that PLA is a great force. It's not a great force. At the bottom, there's a problem. So the Agniveer scheme, you know, even now, is flawed to the extent that it does not meet our operational requirements fully at this point of time. Right. Why? The 75%, sending people out and keeping just 25% out has a huge churn at the bottom. The Agniveers will all go to fighting units. They'll not be at headquarters and research and development organizations and behind. They'll be at the on the trenches. There, you need fighting experience. That's the first thing. The second thing is there'll be too many of them. The kind of numbers change which happens. So at the cutting edge, battalions, regiments, companies, squadrons, batteries, where fighting is going on, there'll be too many Agniveers and too less experience. That's not a good thing. And ask anyone, that's not a good thing, right? So I was, in fact, even in our own case, you look at what happened, last year at Yangtze in, Arunachal. By then, the Agniveers had not come. That unit had only, older, experienced men. Whereas the Chinese came up with a lot of youngsters, and they were eaten black and blue and sent back. That experience factor is something which we should not lose on. And look, if we have one great asset, it is our men, the composition of our men, and the character of our men. They're very good in battle. And Agniveer scheme dilutes that in the present form. Then, of course, it's my view, and it is borne out by fact, that even for individuals, it doesn't do great. After 4 years, what does the individual do? He goes out. I've spoken to a lot of Agniveers. There's nothing wrong with the Agniveers, their training and the units when they come. They're as good as any other man who comes into the unit. They change the training schedules and all that. That's okay. He'll be trained for 4 years. He'll be a very effective soldier. I have no doubt about that. But that fellow is full of doubts. And this is the thing which I've got. Look, he's worried about his future. So his motivation is to secure his future and not fight for the country and not do the task at hand. And if he does it competitively with others, which is contradictory to team spirit. So that's not a very good thing to happen, right? And of course, after 4 years, what does he do when he goes out? It's already 1.5 years. Since the first guy is come, another 2.5 years, you'll find the first Agniveer on the street back. What are we doing to train him? What are we doing to reskill him? The government has not come out with any plan so far. You can't start a plan at the last year. You have to plan now to ensure that 2.5 years later, he goes to some, skill development course, or he goes for higher education, or there's nothing which has come out. So that incentive for resettlement is also not there. If there's no incentive for resettlement, there are good chances he might become a mercenary, because that's a trend. That's a trend we've seen in Russia and the Ukraine war. In fact, so that's a issue. Then the next issue is, even at national level, uh, these guys, as per fifth pay commission, way back in the fifth pay commission, it was said that anyone who finishes off his tenure in the army should be repurposed and sent into the Central Armed Police Forces. That's not happened. That was for the old system with the old organization. With the new system, with new Agniveers, so many Agniveers coming out every 4 years, or rather every 6 months actually, you should have more vacancies for sidestepping. You should have more vacancies in government jobs, in PSUs. As it is, the quota for that is not filled. You're not moving to the thing where every year the recruitment 10%, 20%, whatever it is. So that is not being filled. You forget about extra quotas, the present quota, it's also not being filled. And this was told as far back as fifth pay commission. So far, fifth has gone, sixth has gone, seventh pay commission has gone, no action. And the government, after announcing this scheme, has said that we will, but again, nothing concrete. So it's time for us to take a relook at this whole thing. Look, I have nothing against what General Navaramana has written. What he's written is his personal thing. I have nothing with it. But I think it's a wake-up call for us to do a mid-course correction. It's just a warning bell. More than that, nothing more. So that issue is also there. Then the fact is that, you have to have, the government has to have these benefits. If you're doing a major change in your intake programs, you have to have a major change in the exit programs also. I mean, it's only logical. Okay. Then the next thing is, which is major. We've got into a problem with Nepal because of this. Because recruitment from Nepal into the Agniveer scheme has stopped because of the government. You might say, okay, it doesn't matter. We don't want Nepalese guys to come here. That's okay. But there's a diplomatic angle, there's a security angle. You see, over years, all the Gorkha boys who've gone back and settled in Nepal, they have eaten. आपका नमक काया है in Hindi, as they say. अगर आपका नमक काया है, वफादारी भी is with India. Loyalty is with India. They are your counterbalance against Chinese entry into Nepal. Though the Marxists have taken over, all that, the fundamental leanings of the Nepalese is still towards India, large part due to the Gurkha boys who have gone back and settled there. And they draw your pension. And now that is stopped. We have to remember, Nepal sits over our heartland. It sits over the Gangetic Plain, which is the heartland of India. And if Nepal is lost to us diplomatically, and the Chinese come tomorrow and build a road through Nepal and sit in the Tarai region, you have a major, major, major problem. When this is a huge security dimension. And this I get to know when I speak to people. I speak to all these Nepalese boys around. And this is something which we need to redress. So if you take all these issues into account, I think we need to have a relook at this whole system, right? I mean, fundamentally, you have to have a proper skilled exit. I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to have a multi-stage exit. Keep some people at 25%, send them out. I would say put it this way, after 4 years, 25% send them out. Maybe after 5, 6 years or 7 years, send another 25% out. At about 9 years, send 25% out. And finally keep 25%. Or do a 50-50, whatever it is. This 25 to 75 is something which is absolutely not correct. Yeah, you don't want to change it now. I have no problem. The government has mentioned and it can't go back. So it's okay. So wait, but do it. I mean, if you don't do it, we have issues, right? I thought these are the issues which I thought I'll put across in the first go. And I'd also like to tell everyone that this is not the end. See, I'm going to have a discussion with General Vinod Bhatia on 24th in Hindi, so that all those people who speak Hindi are going to be, clear about it. And then he's been a retired Director General of Military Operations, and he and I were two of the vocal voices who put up problems with the Agnipath scheme. I mean, let me reiterate. The Agnipath scheme is good. In its present form, it's flawed. You need to change it. If you change it, it will be one of the best schemes. That also I'm telling you. You change it a little, and not many tweaks are required. And you have to have sincerity of purpose from the government in resettling these boys who are going out. And I think you'll have one of the best schemes for national empowerment, whatever you call it, on the cards. So now your questions, your points of discussion, and whatever.
Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. And may I request my editor to go to Amazon.in and pull up the advertisement for my book, Who Painted My Future Bright? And when that is up, can you please put it up on the screen? I just want to give a couple of alternate views on this, General Ravi Shankar. I know you're an apolitical person. That's why, therefore, I will just say what I see as one of the
Yeah,
intents of this. One of the intents of this, it might not be the only intent, one of the intents of this Agniveer scheme, where they wanted, 75% to see. One of the challenges that India is facing is the way the politics has evolved over personalities, where loyalty to one person was placed at a premium over the capability of a person at a lower rung. And this happened for about 50, 60 years now. It's slowly being undone. But what the damage that it has caused is you have all these parties where there are regional parties with one family running the whole thing. And this family has got so much. Again, General Ravi Shankar, I don't need you to say anything. I'm just telling you what I see.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
understand.
these people have become so corrupt that they cannot afford to have somebody else inducted as the chief of the party, because these people have the purse strings, and they know that once this goes to somebody else's hand, that could be a huge, thank you so much, that will be a huge problem. So in my book, Who Painted My Future Bright, and this came, in fact, I think a year before the Agnipath scheme was announced. General Ravi Shankar, I want to make this thing clear. I wrote this book, it was published a year before Agnipath scheme was introduced. And what I had identified as a problem today in many states is that the local police force is forced to toe the line of the government, of the present, that day's government. Whatever they say, forget about law, forget about what the law says, forget about what it is right or wrong. They are forced to toe the line of the local government of that day. Then what has happened now is that the corruption in the police force is so bad that you have to have a massive reinforcement of that. So what has happened was, because of the way the state salaries are also being levied, being disbursed, the governments are not able to recruit any additional hands. So the population to policeman ratio is one of the highest in India. If India is still not descending into anarchy, it is because of the inherent dharmic principles of all of us, Sanatanis. Again, I'm getting going into a territory perhaps General Ravi Shankar may just listen but may not want to wade into. What I'm trying to say is the general goodness of the person's heart is what is keeping India dharmic today. So you don't want to add any more to the police force, but you know that flare ups will happen. You need a buffer guard that can be called up at a quick notice. They can come in overwhelming numbers, make sure that they take an apolitical stand, not take sides when there is a conflagration, and maintain law and order, and then go back to what they are doing. So this kind of coming in, doing something for a few days, few months, this concept has been in place in the United States. It's called the National Guard. So what I had suggested in this book was use something called a state guard. And I also go through some incidents where this kind of an approach will help. Now, as far as person who has been trained for 4 years in Agnipath scheme, his readiness to continue doing this thing, that we have to see whether it plays out or not. But whatever it is that I'm suggesting there, I am wondering if the government has the same idea in mind. Because the third term of Modi government is going to be doing two or three things for sure: law reform, order reform, law and order, and that means police reforms. And it has to be done in such a way that nobody can actually, from the state level, can go and politicize this thing. It has become horribly political, that I can tell you. So these were some of the things I think that went into the making of the Agnipath scheme. My read, General Ravi Shankar, I could be dreaming. You could tell me, hey, you're daydreaming. Many of you haven't read that book, so I don't know whether you can, say what is right or wrong. But my premise was, you have at your disposal at a short notice a well-trained force that can, come in and restore law and order, because the local
Yeah,
police could be taking sides. Just my limited
look,
points, sir. I'll let you
no,
respond.
no. The point is this. The problem with what you're saying, I wouldn't say the problem. The answer to what you're saying is we have a huge lot of CAPFs. The CAPFs today are as big as the army. So why do you want another force? See, that's the problem.
Could you unpack what CIPS is, sir?
CAPF is Central Armed Police Forces.
Okay.
Okay, your CRPF, you have CISF. They're all trained forces. You have
Yeah.
BSF. You have you have then state reserve polices. Then you have Assam Rifles. Right. So you have a whole lot of police forces at your command as it is. So the logic of creating another force, you know, is your CRPF is deployed for elections, it is deployed during riots, it is deployed for many other things, right? So you have a force. It's not as if you don't have a force. The logic of this whole Agniveer scheme is, as was put out officially, was to reduce the age, right? And then they said, look, the way technology and modernization you need, then you can, younger people will be technically more adept, all that. And then, of course, you wanted to reduce the pension bills. The flaw with this thinking is flawed, you know, is the, for the simple reason your pension bill won't reduce for the next 10-15 years unless a person who's been enrolled as per the last scheme gets to that pensionable age, which is 15-20 years away still. Your pension bills doesn't start reducing. That's the first point. The second point is that just because you have a Agniveer, he is not necessarily capable of handling all new technology. And all new technology which comes into the armed forces doesn't get out in a hurry. Technology in the armed forces comes in cycles of 15-20 years. The technology stays. So earlier the situation, the technology stayed, your man stayed. Now you are in a situation where the technology is going to stay, whatever the technology which comes in. And your man is going to change at rapid rate at the bottom. At this point of time, which is a mismatch. It's a huge mismatch. Right? And there is no evidence to say that our older lot did not adapt to technology. There's no evidence. Yes, despite all this, the age has to be reduced. On that, I have no doubt. So the methodology of this whole story was based on some flawed thinking. I mean, this is some bureaucrat. In fact, I've written an article, and the heading of that article was, "This is an accountant's ambush." Some, yeah, today I have tweeted it out. I've tweeted it out. That accountant's ambush, if you see the financials of the whole story I have given, it doesn't affect you immediately. So, and you need money today. You see, modernization money is required today, not day after tomorrow, 10 years hence. Because by then you would have been modernized or not. I mean, it's too late to modernize after 10 years. You need that start today because by the time you modernize and if you start investing today for modernization, 10 years hence you'll be modernized or you'll start seeing the effects of that. But by then you would have had 10 cycles of Agniveers going out. Right? So the fundamental flaws of this is not in the overall concept. The overall concept I still say, which I've written in the very first article which I wrote on, called it the kindergarten. I said, with figures in that article, I had said, if you execute it the way it is being announced, we're going to have a kindergarten army. Okay, this is what, and I've proven it mathematically. Maths you can't fiddle around.
But
1 plus 1
yeah.
is 2. It can't be 2.5 or 1.5. Right? I've proven it. Okay, what's more? Look, I'm not also trying to point fingers at a government agent or a politician or army guy. I suppose at that point of time, the people, the leadership of the nation got enamored by some figures some Babu had put across. And they said, okay, they steamrolled their way through, which now General Naramne has virtually said that it was brought in a hurry. He's put it in polite terms. It's okay. I view this as a time, okay, here is a man who's reminded you of that problem. Correct it. I couldn't care a damn whether he was right or wrong. He's, already a lot of, I put out a tweet in the morning about this whole story. People are saying, oh, this is because of this, that is because of this. They're attributing motives to General Naravne and all that. I'm not bothered. Why didn't he take a stand? He should have taken a stand. Look, that's not my remit. At that point, I made a point that, look, this is a problem. I'm making a point at this point again that problem is only coming closer without a solution. That's all. Right. So that I think you'll agree with me is a fair deal, isn't it?
Um, may I respond, sir?
Yeah, yeah, please.
A couple of things. One is, yes, I agree with you. The bigger thing that I wanted to kind of not uh, perhaps in a rebuttal is that CRPF still, the way the structure is, it is somehow still under the control of the local state. I'll give you an
No, it
example,
doesn't.
General
Sorry,
Ravishankar.
sorry, sorry, sorry. No, no, let me correct it before you go wrong. It is not that CRPF is a Central Reserve Police Force. It is used only by central authorities.
I'll tell you
There
what
is
played
no,
out in.
no, no. There is. Let's not have doubts about it. I mean, you will go wrong if we think that the central forces will be placed under the state when
No,
acting
it's not.
for
It
elections.
is, yes, for
No, no,
elections, it gets manipulated in a wrong way. That's what I was trying to
no,
point
no,
out.
no. CRPF doesn't get manipulated. Sorry. I mean, I'd like to differ with you on this. I've conducted elections. Look,
Sir,
again, I've conducted elections in JNK. I've conducted elections in Punjab. I've conducted elections in Assam at the when the chips were down. And the CRPF is one force which ensures the sanctity of the elections. There is no way local authorities or local governments can subvert that. That's our
General
constitution.
General Ravi Shankar, and you're not let me, even
Yeah, yeah,
finish
no,
what
now
my
you can
thought.
speak.
I have
Now you
nothing. Yeah, CRPF is not at fault here. What was, again, this is state civic polls in West Bengal. The last one go back, viewers, and read what had happened. The CRPF was supposed to get to some place in order to be able to conduct the elections in that place. The marching orders or the orders were given so late that they couldn't get there in time. This is only the problem. And this is just because the state is doing the elections. And this is not assembly elections, General Ravi Shankar. These are civic polls, like
look, sir.
mayor
No, no.
and
See, civic
panchayat. This
polls
is where the thing happened.
No, no, civic polls general and panchayat polls and all. Normally, it is the state reserve forces which are there. The central CRPF doesn't come into action.
Sir, this time
That's the way.
in
Look,
sir, please hear me out. In West Bengal, there was a feeling that the state reserve police is not enough. That there had to be central reserve police also.
maybe an odd incident, but
This is
that
just,
doesn't
yeah,
make the
yeah.
case.
I know, I know. I agree, I
That doesn't
agree.
make the case. That doesn't make the case. But then, how can you have another force? What is that force you
It
want
is.
to have?
I think one of the things is the misconception here. I'm not saying that you have to have establish a new force. The concept of a national guard is not of a fully paid salaried job. It is on demand. Just like you
Look,
have on demand computing resources when there is Christmas sale, when on e-commerce site needs more people, more resources. It's something similar to that. I did not say that this is a new force, sir.
no,
It's a
you
slightly
see, the
different
point is this.
perception.
No, no, I understand. But the fact is, all of us who are in the army, we have a reserve commitment. So that reserve commitment, the government, if they wants us back for a particular period, they can always call us back. So that provision already exists. You don't need the US model of the National Guard for us. The thing is, what do you do? You see, uh, we have to understand that every year, if 75% Agniveers are coming out, that means you're looking at a figure of almost 50 to 60,000 people every 6 months coming out. That's a huge figure coming out. These people can't be harnessed the way it is done in USA. You have to put them into proper employment outside. That means the existing quotas which are there in the CAPFs and the existing quotas which are there in central organizations like the railways or the banks or the PSUs, there are existing quotas. Even to the extent the state government has quotas for ex-servicemen jobs up to 2 to 3%, which is quite a bit. Even that goes under subscribed. No, my way of looking at it is the first thing which the government must do for this is to ensure that these quotas get absorbed only for Agniveers. That's something which is in your hand. And as these quotas get absorbed and more people are going to come out, you definitely need more people to come in. The government has to make room in other sectors. For example, you can always mandate all the companies which is listed in BSC, say after a particular level, to have a certain amount of ex-servicemen or Agniveers. Look, that's a commitment. There are methods of doing it. Or for that matter, certain NGOs. You want to have a recognition as an NGO, a proper NGO, employ Agniveers. You have to repurpose these Agniveers usefully for society, right? So I think that is something which I don't see on the horizon. I would like a debate on that. How do you constructively divert this mass of people who are coming out, who are trained, who are motivated, and because one of the things which I spoke to a young boy. After all, Agniveer is what? He's about 18, 19 years old. I asked him, क्या हाल है बच्चे? सर अच्छे हैं हम. खुश हो? हाँ साहब. क्या प्रॉब्लम है आपका? साहब हमें ये की है कि 4 साल के बाद 3 साल के बाद हमारा क्या होगा साहब? He he was expressing his worry. That is something which people have to factor in. So that is my contention. I have no other view on what you said. National Guard, if you can have it, have it. Have a new force altogether, which is under the nation. Then, of course, this problem of mercenary business. You see, what happens is in a country like ours, with so much going out every 50, 60,000 every year, in a matter of 10 years, you're going to have 20 lakhs or 25 lakhs coming out who are in the civil society, who are well trained in arms. You might end up with a militarized society. What is that? We don't know. What the social effects of this unharnessed exit is, to me, is a little worrisome, which I think the government needs to focus on. Right, that's my proposition. I mean, yeah. Now your views. Sorry, I was no, sorry, I was a little, I did cut you off when you spoke about CRPF, but that's because that's the nature of CRPF. We shouldn't be putting out something which is local polls, panchayat polls, civic polls, and all that. These things happen, right? These things happens in every state. For that, I have not heard of this case where CRPF has been asked for these polls. Normally, it is the State Reserve Police which is used. And the fact what you're saying that people are sent late, all these are functional issues which happen.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe. Possible. Center to send, possible. No, I'm not saying no.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no to what you're saying. It's possible. It's possible because of the law and order situation. But the central armed forces behave as per a charter of duty. That charter of duty is very clear to them. So, and the reason why they've been sent, why have they been sent? To oversee the polls, so that the state government is, doesn't go wayward. A particular state government. That's what it is all about.
So let me give you my 2 cents on this, General Ravi Shankar. One of the challenges that India has, because it's such a vast populace, and there are people who always want to try and put politics, even when there are national integrity issues at stake. This is something that has been happening for a long time. The sad fact of the matter is, General Ravi Shankar, today, there is a fantastic agency in India which is looking after internal security. That is the National Investigation Agency, I should say, NIA.
Yeah.
NIA, when it has to conduct raids in a particular state, it has a challenge. The local police is essentially compromised. I'm not going to cast any attributions to any individuals or anything. System is like that. Sir, you have to hear me out here. That's why I'm trying to see what is happening is the NIA, if it has to conduct raids in Kerala, the fact of the matter is it is actually drawing forces from some other neighboring state. That a state, a force that is totally unaware of the local on the ground dynamics so that it can do its job. It has to go and comprehend five mad elements. It is doing this. Now, recently, I am also hearing CRPF is also being used for this. Why did things come to this? That was my whole premise, that things have come
Yeah,
to a point now.
no, I agree with you there completely. You see, the fact is the NIA needs support, uh, everything. But that's the nature of the state. In fact, that's the nature of the beast in India. What you're saying is the nature of the beast. It'll happen, right? Our country is so huge, and we'll have problems as we grow up the value chain in international geopolitics. We will have more problems, for which you need to have more regulations. Everything, everything. But then the answer to that is not Agniveers. Look, we should not lose focus on one issue. The first issue, that your army, your armed forces are meant to defend the sovereignty and integrity of this nation. That cannot be diluted. The rest is all later story, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. The Agniveers are part of that story. That's a fundamental. At this point of time, at this point of time, that is at risk. That's my argument. The rest, well, what they'll do, NIA, if the NIA has a problem, make a force for it. I have no problem. If you have to, you have to conduct elections with CRPF, do it. That operationally, the armed forces are meant for that fundamental purpose. They're meant to defend the Constitution of India. That for that, are we ready? For defending the Constitution of India, you don't need Agniveer at all. You need normal people that we will be able to do. Whichever Agniveer comes, we will be able to do. But my problem is in the army, which I've said, the cutting edge company, battery, squadron gets diluted. I have put figures, right? At the, you'll have 25%, experienced people and 75% inexperienced Agniveers at a battery level or a company level, where these guys have to operate independently and fire complicated equipments. And that is my worry. That is why we need a graded exit. I'm not saying don't scrap Agniveer. That's absolutely this thing. So the requirement, the fundamental requirement of Agniveer, we should not lose sight of. That's my main thing. And like I said, I'm at the cost of repeating, I have nothing against what General Naravane did or not do when he was the chief, when the scheme came. All the other things, I have no problem. The operational part of what he has said is, he's hinted that this has come in a hurry. It might have come in without a few safeguards. So we have time now. We've had the experience of 1.5 years. Build guardrails so that we don't go off track. That's my only thing. I mean, you agree with me there?
I completely agree with you on that, sir. See, General Ravi Shankar, I am again taking a step back with the benefit of experience of having seen India in the last 8 years. I've been very closely following India. In fact, I made it my business to be completely following every aspect of how India is, it's still undergoing growing pains. It is growing, it's still growing, and it will still grow to be a stronger nation once this whole thing happens. The we all want the same thing. That I'm in complete agreement. We all want the same thing, right? A stronger, more confident India. And you're seeing that. You're seeing that every day there is a slightly different way in which India is facing up to the world. I totally am in agreement with you, sir. I think these thoughts have to keep blooming. We have to have these kind of discussions.
No,
right?
We need to have debates. We need to have such debates, informed debates.
Now,
informed debates are important.
Yes. I'll tell you one open thing that the government needs to solve, that its own bureaucracy is resisting, which is lateral entry. A lateral entry is the order of the day in a company. If the company needs somebody of a particular skill set, it doesn't matter where that person is. They'll go and get that person and they'll give them the job and say, okay, I need this. These are the deliverables. Just go and get it done. We don't
Yeah,
have that in the Indian government service, and the Prime Minister Modi has been trying hard to get this lateral entry going. It has not been successful yet. This is one of the things. I think these things will change, General Ravi Shankar, as with time, because there is no way any bureaucrat, no matter how many years he gets trained in universities like Stanford, can figure out what exactly is a cybersecurity leak. When the country is being held to ransom, saying that your pipeline is not going to work unless you pay me so many bitcoins to open it, India will just choke. India cannot
yeah, I
deal with this.
agree.
I mean, US couldn't deal with it. Let me put it this way: US couldn't deal with it. What is India going to do? Right? So this lateral entry is one of the challenges. I'm hoping that that will solve that. If there is an agreement that yes, I have some skill set, but no, I don't know all these things, and therefore I will defer to somebody who's a domain expert. This mindset change has to happen. General Ravi Shankar, I think concluding thoughts, and then we'll take some questions. We have a lot of questions today.
Yeah, I will take. We'll take. I have no problem. Look, the point is, my concluding thought is this: I want the Agnipath scheme to succeed, and I have given out this model of success in one of my articles. I mean, please go to my tweet. My handle is at Palepu R Shankar. Today morning, I put out a tweet, right? And in that tweet, I have put out about 6 articles which I've written. And one of the articles, I've given out this multi-stage exit model. We have to go there. I have no doubt whether it's a multi-stage exit model, two-stage exit model, or a deferred exit model, whatever it is. You have to modify this. If you modify it, this will be one of the best schemes. That I guarantee. One. Number two, I'm not pessimistic. I'm very optimistic that it will get changed. Let me put it this way. Why? Because I've had an interaction not only with Agniveer, I've also had an interaction with very senior officers of the Indian Army who are in chair. And once in a discussion, one of the senior officers said, "Sir, all your articles are on my table." Well, whenever there's a discussion on Agniveer and Agnipath, I go through your articles. I've not even made a summary out of it. I go through your articles because you come out with figures which are unbeatable. My figures are, I mean, when that guy says, and he's the chap who generates figures in the army for all this. When he says my figures are unbeatable, I'm very confident my figures are unbeatable. Right? He's given me 100%. Let me put it this way. So when he refers to my figures, okay, and my concepts, they're right. So my message is already with them. My thought process is already with them. I'm only triggering a debate again. How can we hasten this change? This change is required. People will say, oh, no, it's very early to see change. Look, a flawed scheme which has come in already, if you don't start changing that scheme at the earliest, the flaw will only become more difficult for you to change it. That's how systems operate. It's a, look, someone on the social media will come out and even probably curse me. They have cursed me. People have said some guys have said you're anti-national. Some people have said you're anti-BJP. Some people have cursed me for many things. But that's not the point. People, I mean, they don't know. Okay. So again, if you want to really get to the nuts and bolts, read those 5, 6 articles and then debate with me. I have no problem with it. Right? Even if after all this, people still don't accept it, all the best. What can I do sitting here? I can only, the only thing I have is knowledge, experience for the country, which I'm sharing. Right? So I've shared it with officially, I've shared it unofficially, I've shared it on social media, I've shared it. Uh, that's about all. So I think we'll take questions now. High time to start taking questions. Yeah.
This is the series of tweets that General
Yeah,
Ravi Shankar has put out.
series. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these articles are there today. I've written about 5, 6 articles. 2, 3 articles I missed out. All of you can go to my website called www.gunnershot.com. In that search, you just put out Agniveer, a whole lot of articles will come out. Even the discussion I've had with, there's a parachute in the pay commissions. The pay commissions give you a parachute. It's a safety exit, which is there in the fifth pay commission. That's what I had written. This, I think, I've written either in the Financial Express or in the Sunday Guardian. One of the two I've written this article. Right. So I collected all this. It's there in my thing. Yeah, I'm prepared to take on any questions now. Yeah, this is the one in Sunday Garden. Right. I have been writing. I mean, I've been vocal about it then. So why shouldn't I be at this point? Just reminding the government, yeah, please do the right thing. That's about all.
Viewers, I'm hoping that you are liking this video. I would like to see more likes and more views on this one. Look, sometimes the medicine that you are going to be given is not going to be given sweet. It is going to be given the way it is for maximum effectiveness. That's what the medicine is supposed to be. And with that, I think I would like to defer to our questionnaires. Let's take a few questions, please.
Yeah, please. Right. Oh, before we have a question, if you don't mind, I want to say 24th again with General Bhatia. Please do watch. The second thing, which I want your help also before we get into questions.
Yes.
I've started a new series on Gunnershot on welfare of retired armed forces people. Okay, retirement welfare of all of them, and this program will be in Hindi only, and I'm doing it with the best of experts because I felt that I owe it to all my men that I have to do something to educate them as to about their welfare. The welfare is about their health welfare, post-retirement. It could be about their financial management. It could be about the next of kins. I'm also going to have a program for Agniveers. I'm going to have a program for Veer Naris, those people who have lost their husbands in war. And I'm also going to have a program for the next of kin of people who lost their lives. I mean, the army guy has lost his life in accidents and floods and other things. These are the things, welfare. We look after our men after they retire and how to prepare for retirement. All this is going to be in Hindi because most of our men know Hindi only. They don't know English. So I'm going to get the best of experts to speak on that. So this is what, and I would request all of you who watch this to kindly forward it to any Fauji whom you know. If you're a Fauji, give it to your unit type. Or to your corps type, give it to anyone whom you know who's a Fauji. It will be useful for them. Right? I think
absolutely,
we'll take on
this. Sir. Yeah, absolutely, sir. So let's say if you are doing one episode a week, what P Gurus can do is P Gurus has a Hindi only channel. We can let yours come on, let's say T, and then we can do T+4 because that'll be the middle of the next episode.
No,
we can
I have no problem.
We can rebroadcast it at that time. Yeah,
we'll do it. Initially I'm going to do it only through videos. I mean, I'm not going live. But once we get confidence in the subject which we are going to do, I'm going to go live so that I get people to answer the question, directly with questions. So that anyone has a question, interactive mode. He's got a problem of pension. We'll take this up. We'll take this up with authorities. Yeah, that's the whole. So not only pension, health, everything.
Very true, sir.
Now we'll take the questions on.
Let's take a few questions now, please.
Yeah.
SAS wants to know, have a question on Afghanistan. Is CIA aiding growth of ISIS-K to control China extension to Afghanistan? And how will this affect India if ISIS grows in Afghanistan like Syria in coming times continued? Can you continue the question, please? Okay, let's just answer this one. I don't know where the second one is.
Yeah. Look, the way I look at it, ISIS-K, okay. Tajikistan is also funding for the rise of Daesh in Afghanistan. US allied Afghanistan lords and warlords and against the... Yeah. See, the point is this. ISIS, Daesh, whatever you call them, have a footprint in Afghanistan. They have a footprint in Pakistan also. But today, the Taliban and the TTP are very strong. They're very strong. Okay. So the ISIS has only isolated pockets. they can't grow unless there's an external influence to let it grow. So where is this external influence going to come from is a question mark. Will the Pakistanis do it? If the Pakistanis do it, they'll be doing another cardinal sin because they're going to seed problems in their own area. And as of now, I just did a video with General Satish Dua. We examined this whole thing. The TTP is too strong. It has sidelined everyone in around the Durand belt. The Taliban is also too strong. It's going to take a long time for ISIS to come up. There will be sporadic incidents, there's no problem. We also have to remember the Chinese are not very happy with any kind of upsetting their apple cart in Afghanistan. And ISIS upsets that apple cart completely. So it's a thing which we have to wait and watch, right? So we'll see how it goes. Then, of course, there's this warlordism which is there in Afghanistan. There's this Haqqani network which is predominant, especially along Pakistan on the other side, right? Then you have the Northern Alliance in some dormant form, or the remnants of the Northern Alliance in some dormant form. So there's a whole lot of forces. But at this point of time, I see Taliban being very strong. And what's more, Taliban expertise has been recognized by the larger Muslim world. To some extent, I believe, this is unconfirmed news, that Hamas was briefed by Taliban how to handle the situation before October 7th. So you have to view all this from a different angle and a different perspective. I've done a program on this with a person called Anant Mishra on this thing. I'll get him back and have a program on this separately, because this is an interesting thing which we have to keep track of.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to the next question. Akash Krishan Tadani wants to know, in the artillery and armored, the Agniveer induction would be converted to long service in a larger percentage due to the highly technical nature of the equipment. Your views?
No, look, fundamentally you're right, but it can't be that for a artillery and armored they are for longer and for infantry it is shorter. Then there's imbalance. For all artillery, armor, infantry, engineers, signals, everyone, there has to be a balance. No army can function with different rules and regulations for different branches, especially at the men level, especially for terms of engagement. Okay, so I don't see that happening. The fundamental requirement that you need to have guys serving a little longer because of the technical nature of equipment is right. And that is why I'm saying graded exit. Okay.
Next one. Girinath Paranjodi wants to know, sir, is Venezuela going to attack Guyana? How should India respond, considering mostly 44% of Guyanese are of Indian origin?
We have no leg in that whole story. You take oil from Venezuela. Okay, you have to understand, why is Venezuela going to attack Guyana? It's for the oil reserves which have been found on the border of Venezuela and Guyana. That area is under SUBOS, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That area is with Guyana, but Venezuela has a long-term standing claim on it, so they might go and attack. But then we have an agreement with Guyana for oil. We have an agreement with Venezuela for oil. And those places are far off. You can't go and start doing everything. Diplomatically, we have a lot to do that I'm sure we are doing. And diplomatically, I think we will have a bigger leg to stand on, because Venezuela and US are at loggerheads. So they might use our good officers with both these governments to come to some via media. Let's see how it goes. And it's still premature to say Venezuela is going to attack Guyana. It's only speculation.
Next one, please. Shritik Kothari wants to know, sir, since everyone would perhaps want to be part of a permanent 25%, how would that affect camaraderie? Essentially, the boys would be competing with each other instead of being a compact unit. I think you mentioned this.
Yeah, I mentioned that this is a completely valid argument, and I think this is the way to go about it. It's a staged multigrade exit. You're
Next
right.
one,
That's
please.
one of the major problems of Agnipath.
Thank you,
Oh,
Sai
thank you.
Krishna, for
Uh,
becoming a YouTube member. I don't know whether it is yours or mine, sir, but we will
yeah,
thank them
yours, yours,
whenever it
yours.
is.
It's yours. I think. It doesn't matter, whichever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saima Begum Al Zahiliya, thank you so much.
Uh,
Sir, we need many Agniveers in the time to come as a big war is coming in internal India. Also, we need to defend Russia, Israel as well, people wise.
no, no, we don't have to do anything. There's no big war coming internally in India. For the whichever big war has come in India, we have handled it with what we have. So we don't need Agniveer for that. Please let me put it absolutely. Look, I've been in the biggest wars, internal wars, whether it's Kashmir, whether it is J&K, whether it's in the Northeast or elections. We've done with what we have. We are more than enough. We don't need Agniveers for that. Yeah. And we
Next
don't
one,
have to
please.
defend Russia and Israel. Let them take care of their own problems. Yeah.
Abhijit Chakraborty wants to know, General Sir, defense budget has been decreasing considerably in the last 4 years despite all political flexing. We can easily increase it to 3%, which will be $100 billion.
I agree with you. There are two aspects to this. One is that our defense budget has been decreasing. We need to have more. Despite all what this government has said, the effective defense budget has decreased. That's a fact that you cannot say. I mean, you can indisputable. How much is more? How much more is required? We need 3%. That's a necessity. But just by increasing your defense budget doesn't solve the problem. You need to have the capacity to spend it also. You have it is defense budget is not just that you get more money and you spend it. You need to have the schemes ready for you to spend. For schemes to be ready to be spending, that there's a cycle of about 5 to 10 years. Unless you have schemes which are ready, procurement schemes which are ready on which you can spend, there's no point of having extra budget. Many times the budget gets reduced because your schemes are not ready. Okay. And then the fact is that you're looking at Atmanirbharta. If you're looking at Atmanirbharta, that means you're buying from Indian companies. The problem today with the Indian companies is they're not able to come up to standard as it. They'll come. It's a matter of time. So the desirability of 3% is there. Your capability to spend 3% is not there. Unless you expand that capability to spend 3%, you'll go nowhere.
Next one, please.
Yeah.
Chaitanya Takle wants to know, will India be dealing with Ansar Allah terrorists from Yemen?
It depends. Already there's a talk of an international force around the Horn of Africa. So let's see how it goes. I don't think individually we'll have to deal with the Houthis. But as a part of an international force, already two of our ships are there in that area. We'll deal with them. If you have to deal with them, it has to be under the UN flag.
Next one, please. Venkatraman Iyer wants to know, Jairam Ramesh has cherry-picked parts of the text from the memoirs and made it an issue which amounts to misleading the public. The percentage came as a shock and not the scheme itself. Your views, please.
I've not read what Jairam Ramesh has said, so I really can't comment on this.
Next one, please. JBJP wants to know, is Agniveer reflection of a Gujarati mindset over our government which sees defense through the lens of finance first, as Gujaratis are only 22,000 in army of 12 to 13 lakhs? Is a cultural issue here?
No, I don't think that's right also. That's not being kind to the people of Gujarat. They're no less nationalistic. And I've had Gujarati boys in under my command. They're no less than anyone else. So I don't agree with this JBJP, right? Uh, there's no problem of culture. Look, Gujarat has a culture where people go towards finance. That's okay. That's part of their lifestyle. You can't stop that from happening, nor will it vanish just because this thing. So I don't think this is the right way of approaching this whole story. Okay. Yeah.
Saima Begum Al Zahiliya, thank you so much. West, Protestants, Catholics, Islam, Communist, PRC versus Hindus, Orthodox, Russia, Jews, Israel. Hindu military society is good. I think this is just more of an observation than a question.
That's your choice, but I don't agree with it. Let me be very clear about it.
Army has to be
No,
secular, guys. There is no way you can
there
bring
is
in.
no, if you don't have a secular army for India, you are finished. Let
Yes,
me tell you
yes,
this.
yes, yes,
And you
yes.
cannot have a military society in normal thing. You'll have more problems. Look, you take any militarized society in the world, it will never progress. A militarized society does not progress. That's the problem with militarization of societies. Okay.
Next one.
So
Sagar, thank you so much. One human security pipeline recruit 17, 19-year-old after an aptitude test, 110 IQ. First, then physical, later absorb them into police CRPF after they are 25.
look, this is what the fifth pay commission had said so. This is the fifth pay commission what they had said so. We have not done it. They said after 7 years, get them into the CRPF. Again, this is something which I have put. What the fifth pay commission is one of the articles. I in that article I've just given a foreword, and I've just put out the observations of the fifth pay commission. Absolutely, there's a government of India file, and if you read that, all the solutions are in that. The solutions for whatever the problems of the Agnipath scheme are in the files of the government of India. As simple as that.
I think
Yeah.
what the good general is hinting is the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, but I will leave it at that.
No, it knows, but well, it is it selectively knows. They have their reasons. I will not criticize the government on this, but I will criticize the government on the fact that they have not taken action to rectify the flaws.
Next one. Thank you, Ravi Malhotra ji. Agniveer be a short service of minimum 10 years plus pension?
Look, 10 years is also arbitrary figure. That's why I done the maths. As per my maths, see, we also have to understand the government is not exactly off the mark by saying 4 years exit. Let me put it this way. They've done some calculations to say after 4 years you start exiting. So let's say we take 4 years as a correct figure. We need to have a via media. You don't have to have a radical change. The next exit could be at 6 years. The next exit could be at 8 years. There was a point of time when army people had 7 years. They used to be in the
Short
army and
commission,
left
right?
go.
Yeah.
No, no, no. This was 7 years. Color service was before the Bangladesh war for men,
Oh.
not for short service for men. After 7 years, they used to quit. Someone used to be retained. You can go back to that model, or you can go to a graded exit model. When I say graded exit model, I say after 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, or 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whichever way. That is not a point. So, and then you don't need to give pension. The point is, the moment you give pension, you defeated the whole story of reducing your pension bill. Enable them to do useful thing outside or get them a job outside. You have methods. You see, if you look at, say, even a country like China, China conscripts after 2 years virtually can walk into any walk of life after that, because that's the kind of reservation which they have in the society for people who have worked in the army. So have that. If he's put 4 years or 7 years, whatever, ensure he goes and gets a job outside. All you have to do is that, nothing more. As simple as that. And that by law you can make it happen. And look, the guy, he's gone through 4 years in the army. He's good for any walk of life. The moment he does that, he's a leader in that society or in that small place wherever he goes. He'll be a leader. He's a natural leader. That talent, why are we not tapping? That's the problem which I have and which we need to address.
Next one, please. Thank you, Sagar. Is caste reservation in CRPF police the bottleneck for absorption from military to these services if AV is the only pipeline?
I don't think so. You can make special provisions for Agniveer entry, sidestepping. I don't think we need to do anything for caste and
Yeah.
all that. We see, the thing what I'm saying is there are existing provisions for sidestepping. Like there's a reservation for caste and things like that. There's a reservation for army people also. There's a reservation for, say, 50% 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 for, Use that. Expand that to Agniveers. Technically today, let me tell you, uh, there is no, technically, there's no legal entry for a Agniveer to go into CRPF. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's no this thing. What is the provision? The provision is ex-army, ex-servicemen
Right.
can be taken into
Ex-serviceman. Yeah.
CAPFs. The Agniveer is not an ex-serviceman. Legally, CRPF tomorrow can say, I'll not take Agniveer. You see, the Home Minister did make an announcement, oh, we will take up to 10%. But there's no law which has been enacted. There's no rule which has been enacted. There are no provisions made legally. So where are we? We are actually today, actually speaking, they don't have an exit.
We should make it in such a way that, just like you have exit interviews when you are graduating from colleges, you have to have exit interviews for Agnipath viewers. But they actually have excitement. Oh my goodness, I'm going back to the general society and I have all these options. You have to make it that like that. I think it's possible.
Yeah. No, it's possible provided the government has the will.
Yes.
Look, again, this program has been triggered by General Naramne. I have nothing with what he has said. For me, it's an opportunity to put my case forward again. That's about all.
Yes. Absolutely, sir. General Ravi Shankar, this has been truly an eye-opener. And viewers, I hope you see it in that aspect. There may be some disagreement that PE and I may have, but we all, at the end of the day, want the same thing. Yes.
Yeah. On that, there's no doubt at all. Look, on that, there is just no doubt. I mean, I have full respect for Shreyas for whatever he has said. Obviously, I mean, certain ground realities which is happening here, he wouldn't know. After all, I've spent 40 years in the army conducting these elections. I've conducted the first elections as a major in Punjab. When the number of people who used to vote were only 5 people per booth or even less. Okay, when
They were
the
scared.
militancy was at peak, yeah. So we used CRPF, we used police, we used all kinds of things, but that was a different era. So a lot of things have happened, but and changes will take place. It's not as if we will not take place. So we are all. This debate it's a debate. It's not a fight. That's what I want to say. There's a difference
Totally
between
true.
yeah.
In total agreement with you, General Ravi Shankar. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to P Gurus as well as Ganashot. Ganashot is a hidden gem. You will understand how much thought process goes into picking the topics as well as picking the guests for the topic. General Ravi Shankar is doing a great job. I wish more people would go listen. That this is time well spent. Don't listen to. Arnab Goswami is a great friend of mine, but I would not be spending 1 second more on Republic TV. It's not a cricket team. They say you have to talk. When you debate issues, it has to be one-on-one. Like the way we just did it today. I'm again not for or against this. I was just making my observations in a slightly different way. That's all. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thanks a lot. Good evening and Jai Hind.